You may not agree with everything that is being said, but we're still going to talk about it. We're still going to. Christian was very fascinated by his subject, and we know that he likes to do this type of stuff, and that's fine because I like to roast him as well.
I don't know if, there are things that I feel might be true in these situations, more of like the time period and the people.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe you can go back and track one great person this many years ago. And through the book, she talks about like, this is...
It's a next to impossible feat to really like go,
Yeah, she's like, most of her things are super boring.
Classic.
But she also wrote a book about regressing people back that had met Nostradamus. So
what are the odds that this woman is just looking for money? Like,
there's always a chance.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I've seen people that love Dolores Cannon, and I've seen people that like basically warn you to stay away from her. But I think that's more of the group, the religious group that does not allow for even listening to this kind of stuff.
Sure. But at the same time, like, what are the odds that one person is going to be regressing people that have been very key figures in history, like multiple people?
Most of her regressions aren't like this. I guess I haven't read all of her books yet. Yeah. So some of them are just basically boring. Most lives are boring. And even some of these stories would be boring if it wasn't attached to a greater meaning.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm gonna sideline my my probably offensive instincts when we talk about this type of stuff, and I'm just gonna let you do your thing, man. Let's hear what you got to say.
Yeah, this is not like any kind of propaganda one way or another. This is a story, and there's some fascinating tidbits in there.
And we love tidbits.
Yeah. I'll skip some of this stuff, but I already told you Dolores Cannon was a regressive hypnotherapist. She was born in 1931, married a career Navy man, and in 51. And then she traveled the world since, her husband was being stationed in different places. So when he retired, they moved to Arkansas, and she began her life as a regressionist. And in this story, Cannon's subject is a woman named Katie.
Nice.
And Katie regresses back to the life of an Essene named Sudi. I might get that name wrong. Some of these names might be wrong, but Sudi looks like that's how that one's said. Throughout the book, she talks to Sudi at many times through his life, from 12 years old to 60. And after his death, she is able to speak to him from between lives.
Okay, so we're going from Katie, the woman Katie, in the past was a man named Sudi.
Yes.
Okay.
And according to Sudi, he lives in Qumran, which is famous for the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's where they found those at, I believe, in the late 40s, early 50s.
Gotcha.
And he was born many years before Jesus. The various Essene communities throughout what would later become the Holy Land are responsible for recording knowledge so it can be accessed by those of us in the future. That seemed through the whole sessions, it was important they recorded knowledge.
So is that...
Wrote it down.
Like back in those days, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what we get with whenever we talk about like Native American folklore, we always say that there was one person in each tribe that was pretty much, that was their job, was to, anytime stories were taken, you rewrite that story, you write it down.
Yeah, when writing comes...
Pass those stories along.
Yeah. The problem in Native Americans and a lot of Aboriginal cultures, they don't have writing until relatively recent.
Yeah.
So everything else is oral and then it's written down. And at this time, you got the Library of Alexandria not too far away.
Before it's burnt.
This is before it was burned. So, they're keeping all kinds of information there. The Essene community in their various places have basically libraries full of scrolls.
Nice.
So.
How many episodes have you ruined this year with your...
It was in airplane mode till I decided to send it over. During this time, the Essenes knew that they had to prepare for the coming of a man of light. So as the prophecies were going on, they knew this prophecy. For the most part, the Essenes were Jewish, but they had left the Orthodox way of Judaism at the time. They felt that it had become less about the people and more about leaders being the sole connection to God. In the case of Qumran, the area was mostly desert, near the Sea of Death, now known as the Dead Sea. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and the land was not easy to live on, so the Essenes were mostly left alone. And that's supposedly one of their choices, to live that far out, was to nobody would care.
That's relatable.
Yeah. The community is an advanced liberal community that allows members to come and go. Since they can leave at any time for any reason and be welcome back later, this would not be considered a cult by today's standards.
And we should also specify that liberal is not pertaining to American politics.
No,
so if you got triggered real quick, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah, it's not that kind of liberal.
Yeah, we don't do politics here. Liberal has different meaning that you can also talk about. So that's what we're talking about here.